in the Ouattara stronghold of Ababo. The sound of constant gunfire and fighting is now a distant memory for the ones that have made it here. For these men and women of God, helping the few that they can is all they can do.
We tell them they can always use this area for their children. We can't abandon them. That's why we come here, so we can protect them and their children.
The refugees here escaped with only what they could carry, and they've got no idea when they can go back or what they will go back to. Imran Khan, Al Jazeera.
Zimbabwe's president has lashed out against the West over sanctions imposed on him. Addressing party members, Robert Mugabe threatened to take over foreign firms in retaliation. He also called for a boycott of overseas goods. The European Union and the United States had earlier imposed a travel ban on Mugabe and his supporters over suspected human rights abuses. The Sudanese government has said it will hold a referendum on Darfur. Speaking here in Doha, the presidential advisor says preparations are underway.
We will start arrangements for this referendum. It's a referendum on the administrative status according to the Abuja Agreement. And this means we will start procedures that deal with this requirement in a democratic way for those residing in Darfur to decide on this issue. We expect it will take a few weeks because we need a law on how to hold this referendum. Of course, this is stipulated in the Abuja Agreement, which we adhere to, and it's not something new.
Mexican authorities have found a mass grave in the south of the country. Police in the state of Guerrero say it contains the bodies of at least 17 people. A spokesman said that the grave was found on Tuesday in the town of San Miguel Totolapan and that more bodies could be discovered. It marks the 5th mass grave found in Mexico since June. Meanwhile, the UN Anti-Drugs Agency has reported that Mexican drug traffickers are displacing Colombian gangs in the production and supply of heroin. The report from the UN's International Narcotics Board also says the purity of Mexican-produced heroin is increasing. Mexican President Felipe Calderón is due to meet Barack Obama at the White House on Thursday. The drug-related violence has strained relations in recent years. Both countries have been struggling to contain the supply across the border. Frank Contreras reports.
Neighbors in distress. Once again, security, or the lack of it, will top the agenda when the U.S. and Mexican leaders meet. Nearly 40,000 people have lost their lives in Mexico's drugs war. Two of the most recent casualties, U.S. federal agents who were in Mexico to investigate migrant smuggling groups. 1 week after the shooting, these suspects, allegedly members of the Zetas drug trafficking organization, were arrested. Police say they confessed to committing the killing, calling it a case of mistaken identity. Mexico and the United States are economically intertwined, but the relationship is often delicate. The latest source of tension? Leaked U.S. diplomatic messages that describe Mexican security forces as corrupt and uncoordinated. The criticism has angered President Felipe Calderón. He points out it's U.S. drug users and lax gun laws that fuel the problem.
They haven't reduced drug consumption. They haven't reduced the flow of weapons. On the contrary, it has increased.
The latest opinion polls in Mexico show a majority now seriously question Calderón's aggressive security policy. With only 2 years remaining in his presidency, many observers say it's failed.
Calderón's war is really Calderón's war. He thought it up. He decided to get into this on his own. Not only there was no U.S. pressure, there was basically U.S. indifference.
Washington has invested $1 billion over the past 3 years to train and equip Mexican security forces, but the total amount of aid to Mexico has been cut by 30%. The remaining amount is not nearly enough, according to some observers here, and many want U.S. politicians to do more to stem the flow of weapons from north to south by tightening U.S. gun controls.
And then there's the issue of illegal immigration. It will also be on the agenda, but in the current climate, it'll take a back seat to the issues of security, drugs, and violence. Frank Contreras, Al Jazeera, Mexico City.
In Peru, violent confrontations between illegal gold miners and the police left at least 4 miners dead and more than 30 others injured. The miners began protesting when security forces arrived in the state of Madre de Dios, 860 kilometers southwest of the capital Lima, to dismantle the illegal plants used to extract the gold. It's claimed the extraction process causes mercury contamination. Tennis superstar Serena Williams may be out of the game for up to a year as she recovers from 2 health scares. The 13-time Grand Slam singles champion is at home recuperating after a blood clot was discovered in her lungs last week. A foot injury has also kept the former world #1 out of action since last year. She hasn't played competitively since winning Wimbledon for the 4th time in July. Apple CEO Steve Jobs made a surprise appearance to unveil the 2nd generation of the popular iPad. Defying media speculation about his health, Jobs took to the stage to promote the new computer, which is described by Apple as thinner and faster than the previous model.
We've been working on this product for a while, and I just didn't want to miss today. So thank you for having me.
A reminder that you can keep up to date with all the news on our website. That's at aljazeera.net/English. Stay with us. The headlines are coming up in just a moment. This is Al Jazeera, and these are the stories making headlines. There's been heavy fighting in the Libyan town of Brega. The area was attacked by pro-Gaddafi forces in a major counter-offensive to take back lost territory. But Gaddafi's troops were apparently unable to take control of the oil port. And reports from Venezuela say the Libyan leader has accepted a proposed mediation effort by Hugo Chavez to solve the crisis. Sources have told Al Jazeera the Arab League has also welcomed that proposal. Meanwhile, the humanitarian crisis is worsening. The United Nations says as many as 180,000 people have fled Libya through its borders with Egypt and Tunisia. These were scenes on the Tunisian side of the border on Wednesday, where tens of thousands remain stranded. Most of those trying to leave are Egyptians. The U.S. Army has filed an additional 22 counts against Bradley Manning. The soldier already faces 12 charges in connection with providing thousands of classified government documents to the WikiLeaks website. At least 2 people have been killed in Yemen during clashes between security forces and protesters calling for reform. Thousands have also been demonstrating once again in the capital Sana'a and in the northern city of Sada. Opposition parties have presented the president with a set of proposals they say form a roadmap to departure. President Saleh is said to be considering the plan. 2 U.S. airmen were killed and another 2 servicemen injured when a man armed with a handgun attacked a bus carrying troops at Germany's Frankfurt airport. Police have arrested a 21-year-old from Kosovo. Security in Côte d'Ivoire is deteriorating as fighting continues between President Laurent Gbagbo forces and supporters of his rival Alassane Ouattara. Thousands of people have been trying to flee the violence. The United Nations says conditions are dire, with supplies of food, water, gas and petrol running low. International radio broadcasts are also being jammed. Microfinancier Mohammed Yunus says he will fight the decision to sack him as head of the Grameen Bank. He was fired by Bangladesh's central bank on Wednesday. It says he violated the country's retirement laws. Nobel laureate Yunus denies the accusation and says he is seeking legal advice. Zimbabwe's president has lashed out against the West over sanctions imposed on him. Addressing party members,